it was kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. Jumped in the boxing ring and all of a sudden they're massive stars. That was a good fight for a girl. And I couldn't get fight as an amateur.
All right, we have Monique Bux in here joining us from England. Welcome to the SPRTER Podcast.
Nice to see you, mate. How are you?
Very good. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let me introduce you to our audience. So we have Monique Bux, who does a lot of everything. So she is a DJ. She is also a boxer. Has a big history in different sports, played soccer, ran track, and really found a passion for boxing. Became professional in March 22 and got a record of 1-on-1, and her next fight is on the 10th of March in Gloucester. I'm probably pronounced that completely incorrectly, but
Gloucester, yeah.
Gloucester.
All right. These English places, isn't it?
It is. So really excited to have you on the show. I want to also make sure that our audience knows about your experience or on the SPRTER app, where Monique offers a wide range of experiences. So really head over there, connect with her, and delve into see what how you can connect with her in a better way, in a more deeper way. So walk me through it. How did you really start boxing? How did it all come to, hey, I played soccer, I ran track, and oh wow, I really like boxing? Yeah,
I was well, it all started when I was probably 9, 10. I was playing soccer, football, we call it over here, soccer. Playing football on a kind of like a semi-professional level. Was in an academy here. Played for about 10 years, then kind of stopped. Because women's sport wasn't a great pathway back then. There wasn't much money in women's sport in general. So kind of just took a break, hit the adult life, and then obviously got into the music side of things. So kind of just took a back burner with sports. And as you do, you get into the club scene and going out with your friends and stuff like that. And then, so comment on it. I tried a few different sports. I was always an all-rounder. I'd always did a lot of sports. Kickboxing, as one of my friends just commented on the live. Football, soccer, and then combat sport was always where my heart was. So I did a lot of different combat sports growing up. Getting into the hobbies as a kid, and then kind of dropping off, and then getting back into them. And then I kind of got into boxing when I was around, I'd say about 11, 12, was in the boxing gym. But the problem was there wasn't many girls. There wasn't any girls. So it was a situation where a lot of boxing gyms weren't fond on having female boxers in their gym at the time. So it was quite difficult for me as a youngster to kind of continue my boxing journey. There wasn't much for me to do in terms of competitive boxing. So I stopped boxing for a good couple of years, and then I got back into it when I was say my early 20s, and then it started to kind of go up a little bit, and I was in the gym most of the time. And then the competitive side of it didn't come in until a few years ago. But again, it was hard because there wasn't many female boxers in my weight class to actually get into competitive fights with as an amateur. So I kind of floated around a lot of gyms trying to find people to fight me. It was quite difficult. And then I met my coach, and then I turned over to professional. So here I am today, basically.
That's a really good. There's so much to uncover in there. I really want to delve deeper into many of those aspects. I want to start out with the aspect of, okay, well, I've been floating around different gyms. I've found a coach, and now I'm a professional. It's when did you realize that, hey, I could really become a professional in this sport? Because you really have that sport background, many years in the system, etc. But then to realize at one point I could go pro in this. What was the tipping point there?
I think it was a mixture of things for me. I think a lot of it was, people don't realize that, like, a lot of people, I knew this was going to happen, turning professional. I knew there was going to be a lot of critics in boxing that would kind of point out the obvious things. Like, I haven't had many amateur fights. So that was the number one thing. So how many fights did you have as an amateur? I had 6 bouts as an amateur, which is not that many for an amateur, really. But for someone my weight at the time and a female, it's reasonable. So yeah, so it was frustration, because I was in the gym trying to get fights and I couldn't get fights as an amateur. So that was one of the reasons. Another reason was my age, because I knew that I have to make a decision. Am I going to quit, or am I going to try to become professional in the sport and be successful, or just go as successful as I want to take it? So it was crunch time for me. It was a weird time anyway. It was a lockdown. Everything was kind of like on a standstill. I didn't really know where I was going with anything. So I kind of just like, this is make or break. And I went to my coach, who was my coach now. And at the time, I just got acquainted with him. And I knew my intention was to go to him and say to him, am I good enough to turn professional? If he turned around and said, you're not ready, or you're not good enough, or, because I've seen him do it to people in the gym. People have come in and they've asked him, am I good enough? And he's turned them down and said, I think you should stick to this, or I think you should do this. So I knew he was the type of person that wouldn't lie about that. So I knew in my head, asking him if I was good enough was going to be like make or break. And yeah, I was training with him, doing sessions with him, and then he turned around and said to me that he thinks that I'm good enough to turn pro, and it went from there. But I already had the question in my mind, because I was just sick of the hanging around, and everyone was always fighting in my gyms, and I never had any fights. And I was like, what am I doing this for? I'm paying all this money to travel, you know. Shall I do this anymore?
Makes a lot of sense. Now, that's really what a good coach is there to actually tell you whether you're right, whether you're ready or not. Because, well, I would say that makes a good coach from a bad coach, as telling a fighter, you're not ready. Now, that's awesome to have that support system and have a coach in that area. Now, you talked also about not finding people to spar, not finding as many women in the weight range. That, how do you go about that? And it was like, there's just not enough opponents, like, or enough training partners. How do you go about that?
I think that it was just the timing. I think that at the time, women's boxing didn't really take off at that point. I think that it was just starting to take off, so there wasn't many people. With the amateurs, my coach would look at, kind of like what is like a box rack, like a professional. They have box rack. You go on there, check the records of people, etc. And the amateur boxing had the same thing. It would tell you when they were active and how many fights they had. And it was a lot of people that were just having one amateur fight and then just disappearing. So it was just really bizarre. Like, so I was constantly trying to find people that basically just coming in to have one fight and just go off again for about 2 years. So it was really difficult. It was kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. For me, and it is still difficult in the professional game. There is still lack of opponents for women. I think the lower weight classes have a lot more competition, but the higher the weight class, it does get difficult. So I've even dropped down a weight class to get more fights. So for the last professional fight I had, I come in at middleweight, which was a stone lighter than I was before. So I've dropped in total since I started my professional journey 5.5 stone in weight.
So for anyone not familiar with the British system, what's that in pounds?
Oh,
I know it's a lot.
That's a lot. So to put it into perspective, a stone is 14 pounds. So 5 of them, I'm not good at math.
Yes. So okay, that is a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, so that shows a lot of dedication to the sport as well, as in not just, I'm going to train, but I'm going to train so
Yeah.
hard. And I would assume that nutrition plays a large role in that success as well, to really drop that much weight. So
Yeah.
that's a lot of dedication.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. I think that as you go through the trenches, as you go through the trenches and learn every time you're in a fight camp, I feel like the first time I did a fight camp, I was so uneducated about how to do little hacks and little things to get my weight down and manipulate my weight, because your weight plateaus, it stays at a certain weight
Hmm.
close to fight time. So say for example 2 weeks before I would fight, I would not drop a pound, and I was like nearly at the brink of tears, like ringing my gym friends, like, it's not dropping, what if I don't make weight? I was in the bath, boiling hot bath, trying to get my weight down, sauna suits, everything. And it's just your body gets to a point where it's just like, hold on a minute, I don't want to drop no more weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that as a collective, any professional fighter will go through like, it's not just about the boxing, is everything, is your mindset, is the weight cuts, is the amount of sleep you have, the amount of water you consume, and it's a lot of stuff that people don't see behind the scenes.
Yeah, I can only imagine. But one aspect you just mentioned is the going through the trenches, and it's like dropping that much weight and prepping and training. What's the emotional, what's the emo not emotional damage, but what's the emotional journey of prepping for a fight like that? It sounds really intense. And how do you deal with it on an emotional level to still show up to the ring and still want to fight and still want to continue doing this?
I think that boxing is a mental sport, and I never really used to understand that term until now. I think that you will spot the people that want to box because I'll tell you why. This is my experience. I went into my first professional fight. I was given a massive opportunity on a massive platform with millions of people watching the fight around the world. I wasn't ready mentally because I didn't show up. So when people watched it, they were like, "Oh, they criticized me," but they actually didn't know my boxing ability because no one had seen me box. It was my pro debut. After that, I knew deep down I was better than that. I knew that it wasn't that I couldn't box. It was just that I mentally did not show up. The whole occasion got to me, swallowed me whole. So for me to come off a loss that big on that big of a platform, was the mental strength that I had to, I don't know, build up was unmatched. The amount of anxiety and things that I felt after the fight, I didn't leave my house for a week. People don't understand, like, people don't really understand how difficult it actually is. And for you to overcome their mental I say blocks or whatever, for you to overcome something like that, that is an achievement in itself. Because obviously I work as a DJ, so this is a perfect example. Every weekend after the fight, I had someone come up to me and talk about the fight. So I never had a chance to naturally digest it and get over it myself. So that was hard, and for me to jump back in the ring with the same opponents that beat me was just, the mental strength was just, I had to really, really dig deep inside myself and tell myself that I was good enough, because I had doubts. So I feel like I beat the fight through just my mental strength. Never mind getting back in there with the person. For me to even get through that for myself was like an achievement in itself. So
It's
was,
also,
yeah.
sorry, I interrupted you here.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's also it's also a lot of journey of like inside of you, and a lot of overcoming your own boundaries,
Yeah.
if I gather that correctly.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think that, like, that's what I was saying is if I feel like in boxing, I feel like you will know who's down to box, because it's not a joke. Like the sport is not a joke. It's easy to watch it and say, oh, you should have thrown that punch, you should have done that. But when you're inside the ring, it's a different experience. It's easy to watch it, but it's hard to get into that ring and actually compete. So yeah, I feel like the mental strength plays a massive part in boxing. It's like 80% of it, and the rest is just the fitness and stuff.
And piggybacking on that, what you just said is Mike Tyson once said everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Exactly.
How do you deal with getting punched in the face?
I mean, I'm about that life. I love the sport. So for me, I think when you get into the sport, getting punched in the face is just part of it, you know? Obviously, don't get me wrong, it's boxing and you can get hurt. But like the sparring and stuff will prepare you for that. Like, because in sparring, people don't see the sparring. Like, you can have really good, tough sparring and you can get hurt in sparring. But it helps you, it prepares you for the fight night. The fight night should really be easy, and the sparring and the training should be tough. That's how my coach says it. Train hard, fight easy. So yeah, I mean, everyone has got a plan until they get punched in the face. But if you've got the right coach and you've got the right direction, then you'll always have a plan B when you do find yourself in deep waters. And my last fight was a perfect example. It wasn't the cleanest of performances, because she's the type of opponent, and everyone said it before to message me and said, she makes you look scrappy. She makes you look like you're not great, because she's not really a boxer. She comes forward, she wears you down, she has a lot of ring knowledge, and yeah, it's different styles make fights. You get like a sleek boxer that comes in there and they will, you know, like calculate their shots, then that's going to make, if you're a boxer, that's going to make you look good as well. But if you have someone that's going to come in there all guns blazing, trying to wear you down, it almost makes you look kind of like not great, like novice-y, like, you know. So
having a plan B is your plan for getting punched in. I love that.
Having a plan B, yeah. You always got to have a plan B, because people have a fight plan, but it doesn't always go to plan. So, I mean, and I feel like people's natural ability will get them out of certain situations in boxing. You might train for someone and think they're going to fight a certain way, and they might turn up in a different way and fight a different style. So what are you going to do? You can't just, you got to adapt. That's just the way it is.
Do you have any, call it intimidation tactics, when you step into the ring, or that you tailor to the opponent?
I haven't really got in. Do you know what? I'm not really the type to trash talk and do all that. I feel like once I get to a higher level and I need to sell like an arena, or I need to sell a certain fight, then I'll play a part in that, because I know it's a build up to the fight, it builds anticipation, etc. But for now, I'm just quite a humble person. So like, I respect my opponent, because it's a hard sport, you know. So, but I am there to fight, and I'm there to take that person's head off. I'm there to win, no matter how. So as much as I want to be nice, I've got to turn that screw, and so the intimidation will just come from my performance, I guess. But in my last fight, I was laughing at her when she was punching me, because she had no power. So
all right, that would do. That would definitely do it to me if I punch someone and they just laugh it off. I'll be like, oh, here we are. We're in for a bad ride here. So,
yeah, I leave the trash talk until I'm like 6 fights in or something.
Fair enough. Now, aside from boxing, you mentioned you're a DJ, you're a musician, you are making music on a regular basis. And where does your love for music come from? And how do you balance that with boxing? How's that fit with your lifestyle as a professional boxer?
Yeah, I always like knew that it was going to be a good fit, because one, it gives me free time. I only work three nights a week. So it gives me a lot of free time to train, which is a blessing for me. I had a full-time job, stuck to my computer 9 to 5, and that was difficult. You know, I was finishing work at 5 o'clock. I was training. I was going to training in the evenings. I was getting up in the morning. It was difficult. So I got into music, yeah, when I was young. My family are very music orientated. I started DJing at like 19. But it is what I believe boxing brings is it's also like an entertainment business. So it's good to have the music and the boxing together because they do complement each other. And I found that is something that, you know, it gives me character because you are your own brand. You've got to promote yourself. You can't just be, yeah.
How would you describe your music style, and how does that align with your boxing style?
That's a good question, man. I've always said I was quite unique in my music style, but I don't know.
Okay.
That's quite a big. I don't know. I mean, like, I'm always the type of person that let the music speak for itself, let the boxing speak for itself. I'm just a perfectionist. If I do something, I want to make sure I'm doing it the best I can do it, and I've always been humble with it. Like, I never ever let anything go to my head. Even when I've had amazing like opportunities and big gigs and different things, I've been in front of thousands of people. It's never made me switch or change up. I've always been like, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? Not like, oh yeah, I'm here now, this is it. Because I'm just like, this is my journey. I'm going to continue this journey. So I can't become complacent. So mentally, I'm always looking for the next thing, constantly, always.
Okay. And how can you collab, like how can you cross promote, or how does being a DJ add to you being a boxer, and being a boxer adds to you as a DJ in terms of your personal brand, as in, hey, like here's how we can promote it, here is how we can, you know, like make it even more unique.
I feel like when I fought on a Matchroom card, they took that and they did what I had in my head that I knew I can do, is the whole promoting it together. I feel like the entertainment industry, if you look at like the YouTube boxers, for example, your Logan Pauls and your Jake Pauls and your KSIs, perfect example. You know, they've taken what they do and they've used that to their ability. And they've jumped in the boxing ring and all of a sudden they're massive stars. They've got drinks, prime drinks, all the kids are buying. It's just a way to promote yourself. So I feel like if you do something on the side as well as boxing or as well as another sport, you're always kind of adding something to the game. And I like the music industry is a big part of boxing, because if you look at the way like people use people as to come out with their ring walks and stuff like that, you know, Floyd Mayweather, I used to look at all the like people he used to have on his ring walks, like Lil Wayne and all these people. I was like, that's dope, you know. So like, yeah, like music just complements entertainment and boxing, and then boxing. Obviously, you know, there are certain things that will obviously come up. Like, do you drink? Do you drink when you're DJing? Are you tempted by that lifestyle? And the answer is no. I don't need to. I can be in the club and drink water all night, and people will offer me drinks. Don't get me wrong, and say to me,
Sure.
I'll say no. But they know now. Like, you know, when I was first getting into boxing, people used to be like, "Oh, just have a drink, just have a drink," and I'd be like, "Nah." And then now they just don't offer me a drink because they know what it is. But yeah, like that's obviously something you have to be strong-minded in that industry, because there's a lot of it's the club industry. It's a lot of like, you know, that stuff.
I understand. I've worked in that type of environment for a
Yeah,
while. It's
exactly.
a lot of, it can be a lot of fun. It can also be, it can ruin all of your next days.
Yeah.
So I can absolutely see that. Now you mentioned Logan Paul's, all of those, but we also see women's boxing. It's almost exploding right now. What's your perspective? Where does it come from, and where's the limits, and are there limits?
I just feel like like men in general, right? And this is not to be disrespectful, but men in general have never taken women seriously in sports. And I'll say that wholeheartedly with chest, because I have been in so many different sports on a semi-professional level. So I know men have never looked at women as equals in sports. So it's been frustrating to see, but now when you watch, like, for example, the Savannah Marshall and Carissa Shields fight card was all women with a big it was a big what's the word, a big occasion for women's boxing and women's sport in general. And to watch all them fights, no one looked at it as, oh, that was good for women's boxing. They just looked at it as that was a good fight card, male or female. All the fights were amazing. All the fights were good. All the fights brought different styles, and a lot of my friends that are male watched the fight and watched the main fight card and were like, this fight is just on par with your Canelos or the other male fighters. They didn't see it as a women's boxing fight. They just seen it as a fight technically. So it's about changing perceptions in sports in general. But for women, that was a big occasion that obviously changed people's minds about women's boxing. And I think that now women in boxing are starting to get the respect they deserve, and they're not like looking at them, oh, well, that was a good fight for a girl, or that's just a good fight. There's the difference.
That makes a massive difference, and we see that in other sports as well, right? Women's soccer or women's football has exploded all over England as well.
Yeah. Well, USA and different teams. I hate to say it, but they're so good. They're so good.
Well, yeah, so whether it's the US but also England has exploded. So if you were in the youth system now, you may have the opportunities within football
1,000,000%
that weren't there maybe 10, 15 years, like 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. We see that.
I started playing football about 2 years ago again. And the competitive levels were just crazy. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is actually, at this type of grassroots level, like imagine what is like a professional level. It was
so you feel like that has improved as well, and you're kind of like, I can play, and you're like, oh crap, I actually haven't played in a while, and these girls have gotten a lot better.
1,000,000%. I was shocked at the amount of good female footballers that they were. And it's amazing to see. It is really good to see, some of them women footballers will definitely be better than some of the male footballers. Obviously, physicality, we can't deny them. The men are stronger than women. I hate to admit it, but they are, like their bone density, naturally, the more testosterone, etc. But skillfully, I've seen some women footballers that are 10 times better than some of the men. And boxing. But at the end of the day, you just can't compare them in terms of strength, but technicality and talent and everything else. Boxing IQ, you can 100% compare them, but you can never really, I spar the men all the time. There's never really any women that I spar, but I know that when I'm in there, they're not gonna like completely like go full on with me, because there's still got to be a little bit of respect.
Fair enough. And you said earlier, train hard, box easy.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. When you just talked about talent, one of the earlier comments was Bux has talent for everything. So you're taking your talent to the music world, you're taking your talent to football, to boxing. Will you also launch your own merchandising line? What was that process like, and how creatively are you involved in that process?
I feel like I'm heavily creative. What's the word? Heavily involved in the creative aspect of my clothing brand. I love fashion anyway, so it's always been like a big passion of mine. I love graphic design. I do a bit myself. Anything creative I love, but I do have a massive vision for the clothing brand and where I want to take it and how far I want to take it. And it's very, very premature at the moment. It's in its early stages, but when I bring it to life, it's gonna be very good. Like it's gonna be there up with some of the top brands, I do believe.
Okay, I think there is a lot of potential, particularly for athletes.
Yeah.
To do, whether it's cross collaborations or to really launch and promote their own lines and make them big.
Yeah.
We see that more and more in the world of sport crossing into streetwear and lifestyle. So I can absolutely see that, and it's really interesting to see the involvement, the personal involvement that you have with that as well. And we definitely want to follow along on that creative outlet and see when that vision, what that vision looks like and how
Yeah.
it's turning out.
Yeah. It's all going to be. I just drop little teasers and things like that. I'm working on so much more in the background. So I think like it's kind of like piece and puzzle at the moment, like this piece. But when it all comes together visually, it's gonna be good, because I just believe that the road we're going down with social media and everything, it's all about visuals. It's all about inspiring. It's easy to put something up and say people buy this, but you got to have like a visual, creative, like journey behind it for it to actually take off. So like with the lifestyle, with the sport, and not just about lifestyle, like the mental health aspect of it. Like, you know, I'm an advocate for mental health, the lifestyle, the just not giving up aspect of life. It's not just all about sports for me. It's about being able to get up in the morning and just feel good and boss the day. That's what I want my clothing brand to be about. Like, people are wearing it feeling like today is going to be a new day. I'm going to go and smash the day. That's what I want it to be about, as opposed to being just about like sports. It's like a lifestyle. Do you get me? So
Is boss the day, is that one of the slogans? Because if it's not, it would be pretty good.
Yeah, I could be good. I'm going to write that down.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down. Thank you.
That's actually a really, really good slogan there. I really enjoy that vision for it and that broader appeal. Before I let you go, I have two more questions. One is, I just saw on your Instagram profile you're supporting the victims of the earthquake.
Yeah.
What's that mean to you to give back and be there for the community as a professional athlete and DJ, I guess, and someone who is in the spotlight?
Yeah, I feel like everyone has a duty of care when like a natural disaster or anything bad in the world goes on. Everyone has a duty of care to raise awareness for these type of things. But that really, for me, obviously the platform that I have is growing, and I want to be able to do my part, as in donating, which I have done, but raising awareness. And I feel like even if it gets 5 people to donate or to then put it on their story, it's like raising awareness is everything. We've got the power to reach different people. So I just feel like for me, it's my responsibility. I have like a responsibility as a public figure. I'm sorry, there's my family in the background. I have a responsibility. I've got like all my family over my house today, so they're going crazy. I have a responsibility as a public figure to basically, to raise awareness for things like that. So, yeah, for me, it means a lot but it's obviously something that's just heartbreaking. So, yeah, if it means that 5 people raise money and then they get 5 people to raise money, then we all got to play our part in the world, especially when these type of things happen. So yeah, I'm always, anything like this, I'm always trying to like raise awareness and play my part, even if it's in silence or, you know, just making a donation, etc.
And I appreciate that. I think a lot of athletes who have the platform, it's the more that can get involved, to actually get involved within their means and within them being safe about doing it. That's to me one of the main aspects why I think sport really has the power to make the world a better place. So I really think that's an amazing perspective. Before I let you go, what's the rest of 2020 looking like for you? What are the big goals?
I mean, with the boxing, I've got like a plan in place about where I want to go, and that will definitely happen. I'm definitely very early in my career, So for me, this year will be a good year. Music as well, everything that I do, everything that I put my name to, I'm gonna take up a notch and really push the barriers and try to make a name for myself, because I feel like this is the time now, basically. So everything that I'm gonna do, I want to just aim to inspire, especially the younger generation as well. If I can inspire young females, especially female boxers coming up, if I can inspire local young girls to get into boxing, that's an achievement in itself, as well as obviously doing what I want to do. So yeah, it's about inspiring, it's about basically being successful in the things I'm doing. So that's the plan. So 2023, that's my year. That's 100% my year.
That sounds like an awesome 23 for you, as well as the support to the community. Thank you so much for all of the involvement that you're doing. Now, before I let you go, all of the supporters, athletes, make sure to follow Monique on all of the platforms, as well as head over to the SPRTER app to check what awesome experiences she's offering there, and get involved, follow along, and we will be supporting throughout. Let us know if there's anything we can highlight, promote, and I'm excited to follow along all the way. All the best for 2023.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I just want to say like a massive thank you for obviously having me on board on the SPRTER app. And hope everyone, jumps on the app and sees all the amazing athletes that are putting in the work around the world, because it really is a great app. So yeah, anyone that's watching the live, please go and follow the SPRTER app. Obviously what you're doing is amazing, so thank you very much for allowing me on the app. And big things to collaborate with yourself as well, because I know there's like a lot of things in the pipeline with the app. So yeah, I'm very grateful to be on the platform, so appreciate that.
Thanks for the support, and thanks for being part of the SPRTER family. Have a great evening.
And you, take care of yourself.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.